All right, the Warriors had an awesome game last night. They're riding a 3-game winning streak, and they made some moves today. Kevin Danna is going to join me to talk about one of the potential new members of the Golden State Warriors, Lester Quiñones. We also got an update on Steph and Curry. And again, I'm going to get Kevin Danna's thoughts on just where the Warriors stand right now. With 20 games remaining in the season, we're almost there. Let's break it all down next. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. You can follow Kevin Danna, the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors, sometimes the Golden State Warriors. Although you haven't been the voice of the Warriors this year yet, have you?
Correct. I have not. I've been the voice of the LA Clippers this year for one game, but not the Golden State Warriors.
Have you really?
October 22nd at Golden One Center, Clippers Kings. PG's 13 went for 40.
Well, you can follow Kevin Danna on Twitter at Kevo408. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Twitter at DogSurfRoadshow. You called a Clippers game? You're sitting here telling me that the Warriors are cool with you?
I took it all the way up the chain. They were cool with it. It was a one-shot deal. So yeah, they knew all about it, and it was a good time. It was a good game. Got a free hotel out of the night. Clippers played well. And I had a UC Davis women's soccer game the next day, so it was like perfect for my weekend.
Bam, bam. There you go. Well, the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors and sometimes the LA Clippers, the Ingleside Clippers. I wonder if they're going to call themselves that. I doubt it. What was your immediate reaction to a game that was a thriller in my book? 1 minute, they're down 17 at the half. I think they were down by as much as 23. Yep. And then they go on a tear in the third quarter. A team that's been struggling all season from the third quarter outscored the Portland Trailblazers by 22 in that quarter, then outscored them by 13 more in the fourth quarter, hold the team to 105 points, which shows me the defense was checking in. Your reaction to a game that gives them a 3-game winning streak and currently a 5th seed in the Western Conference?
Yeah, before I give you my reaction, let me say a couple of different sentences, and because I know we're going to talk about this later. As Cyrus well know, as an employee of the Santa Cruz Warriors and therefore Golden State Warriors, I'm not allowed to comment on moves that have not been officially made. Until there's a press release, I can't say anything. In a separate sentence, Lester Quiñones is the G League Player of the Week and has been fantastic all season long and has played in every game for Santa Cruz this year. He is a fantastic basketball player. Okay, to the game. I should know better by now because it's the NBA and no lead is safe. Really, at any level of basketball where the players are really competent. So NCAA men's, NCAA women's plus, pretty much, and even you could go even NAIA plus if you want. No lead's really safe, men's or women's.
In this day and age, you're right.
In this day and age.
Yeah.
But in the second quarter, Golden State looked absolutely lifeless to me. And I'm like, they don't have it tonight. And when they gave up a putback down 72-58 as they're making their run in the third quarter, and I think it led to a Jeremy Grant long too. I'm like, that bucket's going to cost them. That's what I said to myself. I don't think it really costed them. That defense, I mean, especially in the second half, really from the second quarter on, because you mentioned they scored 105 points. Portland dropped 41 in the first quarter, so that means they scored 64, basically 21.3 points per quarter over the last 3 quarters. So incredible defense, the attention they put into saying anybody but Lillard is going to have to beat us. And, Lillard scorched him in the first quarter, and he didn't do anything pretty much after that. The boxing one, the trapping him right as soon as he crossed half court, or trapping him, in the half court, doubling him. Yeah, as Lassium Kirk says, sorry if I'm not saying that correctly, the Dubs locked Damian Lillard up, and that's why they won. It was a 42-point swing, Si. They went from -23 to +19 at one point in the game, and they ended up winning by 18.
Yeah, I didn't talk about this on last night's show, but or maybe I don't know if I did. But the Warriors, if I'm not mistaken, switched up to a box and one on Dame Lillard. Am I correct about that? I think that's what
You
they
are
did.
correct, sir.
And I feel like that made just all the difference. All of a sudden Dame is stifled. What do you think? But in your opinion, because Draymond Green came back, he played 32 minutes. They've been missing him. Thank goodness his knee was okay.
Yes.
In your opinion, what led to the defense actually coming through? And what have you seen that's different from these last 3 games as opposed to the previous month or so? I mean, the Warriors have been struggling for a little while there, but they've got a 3-game winning streak. That's all you need now in order to to go to 5th in the standings, which is where they are now. What has changed, in your opinion, about this Golden State Warriors team?
Well, the one thing that has changed is that I'm doing the show solely despite black ice, in that I can't talk about anything. Just kidding, black ice. I just feel free to take
but it's okay.
as possible. I will say, they are much better at home, and so let me see them hold the Lakers to 105 points on Sunday, even though they won't have LeBron James. Let me see them hold the Thunder, albeit no Shai Gilgeous-Alexander potentially, to under 110 points. Then we'll talk about them really turning the corner. But these last couple of games, I mean, it just feels like, especially last night, it was game plan discipline, right? Matisse Thybulle hit 3 corner threes in the first quarter.
Yeah,
and they could have just been like, maybe we need to guard Matisse Thybulle. But he's a career low 30s 3-point shooter. And I've seen him knock down a lot of threes in FIBA. When he was with Australia, I was doing Australia, USA, and some of Australia's games before they went to Japan when they were in Vegas. And Matisse looked just the ultimate 3-and-D dude. And Bob Fitzgerald last night saying he's the Australian Bruce Bowen, which was what he was looking like, because Bruce Bowen was known for hitting corner threes, playing lockdown defense. You trust that he's not going to hit 100% of his threes. And you trust that since they didn't have Anthony Simons last night, that these other guys who aren't premier scorers can't premierly score for 48 minutes against Golden State. And that's what happened.
There you go. That's a fair summary. And again, the Warriors right now, if the standings held from last night, they're 5th.
Yeah.
Tied. What's up?
And no, I was just saying, how about that, right? So when they lost the Lakers, they were 10th, and they go on a 3-game win streak and they're 5th.
That's all it took, which is really wild. It's very symbolic of where the Western Conference is this year, which is just a crapshoot for the most part. And they're a game behind the Phoenix Suns. Tomorrow night, the Warriors play the LA Clippers in what has suddenly become, and hello, solemn crying from the Philippines. Thanks for watching us from there. The Warriors are playing the Clippers. That's a massively huge game. Might as well give the Stephen Curry injury update now. The Warriors released a report saying it's progressing nicely. They didn't get much into specifics. I think Adrian Wojnarowski tweeted out that he could be back as soon as next week during the team's road trip. So he's not going to be there for tomorrow. We don't know exactly when he's going to be back, but in all likelihood, we're looking at next week sometime. If you look at the schedule next week, it might be at Oklahoma City. I don't know. We don't know exactly when. But regardless, not going to be there for the Clippers game. Draymond, thankfully, is. Wiggins has suddenly become the huge mystery. We're not going to speculate on that, obviously, given how sensitive that whole situation could be. But they're missing him, and that's a loss. What do you see happening in that Clippers game, man? Do you think the Warriors have a shot? Are the Clippers going to run the gamut on them? What's your prediction for tomorrow?
I mean, I don't think you can say, yeah, I think they definitely have a shot, first of all. There's the teams from, 4 to 13 are just so tightly bunched. There's not much separating now. I think we're starting to see maybe Oklahoma City, maybe Portland, maybe Utah falling off a little bit. And if LeBron can't come back for a while, and I mean, it's going to be tough especially if Anthony Davis continues to have injury troubles. If they don't have Anthony and LeBron,
bye Lakers.
So I think the Warriors are pretty squarely going to be in the play-in, without a doubt. I think they would host the play-in game. But this is a massive game. And I definitely think they could beat the Clippers.
Same.
A, they're at home. B, the Clippers are 0-3 with Russell Westbrook. And now, that being said, they've played some tough teams, but 2 of those games have been at home. And I don't think you could say that the Sacramento Kings, even though they're 36-25 and have had a great year, are that's significantly better, especially when you have a 14-point lead with 4 minutes to go. Even though in this no lead is safe at home, you should win that game.
Yeah,
they did not. Yeah, you should beat the Minnesota Timberwolves at home without Karl Anthony Towns. They did not.
And Gobert. Yeah.
I thought Gobert played last night, actually.
Oh, last night. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I'm talking about the Clippers. But yeah, Gobert did not play against Golden State. But I'm pretty sure he did play against the Clippers. I could be wrong. But then at Denver, whatever. No one's really going to beat Denver there in that. And they gave it a good effort, went to overtime. But they're 0-3 with Russell Westbrook. Small sample size. Eventually, they're going to win some games with him. But I think it's I'd say Golden State has a 51.5 to 52% chance of winning that game. I give them the slight edge.
There you go. And right after you're done with us, we're hosting this live right now. It's 5 p.m., 5:05 p.m., specifically on March 1st. At 6 p.m., you're hosting a show on the Warriors flagship station, 95.7 The Game, with Gary St. Jean, correct? What are you guys going to be talking about on that show?
Yeah, let me get the outline and tell you.
Okay, well, get the outline, and because I got an ad to read, and then when we come back, let us know what you're going to be speaking with the former GM of the Warriors. I got to get Gary back on this show. This season has just flown by, and that is not intentional that I have not booked Gary St. Jean for a return appearance. So that will happen soon. Sorry for the dog barking. That's my pup. First, I got to give some love to FanDuel, official sportsbook of the entire Locked On network. The midway point of the NBA season is here. In fact, I guess technically, if you include the postseason, it kind of is the midway point. And now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sports app. It's safe, it's secure, it's super easy to use, because from there you can bet on everything: money lines, parlays, point scorers, individual over-unders. Plus, FanDuel lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout. So don't miss the chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. You can follow Kevin Danna, the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors, sometimes Golden State Warriors, sometimes LA Clippers, at Kevo408. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Twitter at Dogsurf Roadshow. So what's on the agenda for tonight? Is it called, what's your show even called? Is it Warriors Insiders? Is that what they call it?
Warriors Roundtable.
Roundtable.
6 to 7 p.m. on 95.7 The Game. We'll be talking about the win over the Blazers. Some individual performances, talking Draymond, Clay, Dante, defensive coverages. We'll talk a little bit about the Stephen Curry update, the kind of two-way roster situation, on how a decision needs to be made pretty soon.
Right.
Steve Kerr's chat with Jordan Poole, trying to get him, back in the flow, and then taking a look ahead at the Clippers, Pelicans, and the Lakers coming up, and just how jumbled up the Western Conference is. So all
Absolutely.
that and more. Warriors,
well,
6 to 7 p.m.
Well, let's cover some of that stuff now. Let's start with Lester Quiñones. And even though you can't technically talk about him signing a 10-year deal with the Warriors because it's not official yet, Shams Charania reported that. But equally intriguing in terms of reporting today was Anthony Slater of The Athletic, who explained the reasoning for Lester Quiñones signing that 10-day deal, or he's about to when it happens. And I didn't know this. This is a very little-known rule in the CBA, which is that if your roster is not maxed out at 15 players, if you have a 14-man roster. I don't know what the rule is if you had 13, because I think teams can go as low as 13, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
So I don't know if the rule changes even more then. But if you have 14 players on your roster, the maximum amount of combined games your two-way players can play is 90. And Anthony Lamb and Ty Jerome have reached that max because of the fact that Ty Jerome was active for 3 or 4 games on top of the ones he's played in, right? So I think he's played in 39 games, but he was active for 43 because he was there for 4 games but did not play. Anthony Lamb is at 47 games, if I'm not mistaken. So they were at 90. They had maxed out. So what apparently no one knew is that the Warriors could no longer play those two if they wanted to. But by adding Lester Quiñones, now you have a 15th roster spot filled. And if your team has 15 roster spots filled, you can use the maximum 100 games for your two-way players. 50 games for one, 50 games for the other. So what you can talk about, though, Kevin, is Lester Quiñones, who originally signed a 2-way deal for the Warriors way back in training camp. Originally, the plan was it was going to be Quinndary Weatherspoon and Lester Quiñones. And then last minute, all of a sudden, it got switched up. Quinones goes to Santa Cruz. Weatherspoon is gone. And then you get Ty Jerome and Anthony Lamb brought in. What is your opinion of Lester Quiñones? Because you call Santa Cruz games. He's been playing there all season. He's been lighting it up. I think his scoring. Does he lead the team in scoring? Give us your whole breakdown of Lester Quiñones, please.
So I think he's a heck of a player, first of all. He said in the pre-draft process he knew that to break into the NBA that he needed to be a 3-and-D guy to start. But he brings a lot more than that to the team. He can make reads off the dribble. He has, I think he's giving, 3 to 4 assists per game. He rebounds pretty well for his size. He's got like the prototypical NBA body for a wing. He might be a little bit undersized in that regard.
How tall is he?
But I think he's listed at 6'5". Hold on. What is my chart?
But he's not a scrawny 6'5", right? He's got some meat on him.
205. No, so he's got some bulk to him.
Yeah.
But man, yeah, he can put a G League team on his back. I'll say that much.
Okay.
He's coming off a career high 42 points. The thing I like about him is his availability. I mentioned it earlier. He's played in every game for Santa Cruz. And I know, obviously in the G League, you don't really have load management because these guys aren't in a position to load manage. But he's been there every game. He is the only player that has played in every game, which is it's not easy to do in the G League because say Jace Johnson starting center. When James Wiseman was assigned, Jace Johnson didn't play. And so just with guys coming up and down from the NBA team, it certainly is something to play in every game. Mm-hmm. Which he has done. He played in all 8 summer league games for Golden State as well. So he's a guy who keeps himself healthy. He's got a really nice looking shot. Do yourself a favor. If you ever watch Lester Quiñones play in person, watch the rotation on his jump shot. The backspin is perfect every time. It's a thing of beauty. And he could get that thing off quickly. He plays well without the ball. Seth Cooper has been working. He's the Santa Cruz Warriors head coach. Has been working with him on just staying locked in defensively for the entire possession. Sometimes his attention span can wane a little bit. I don't think that would be a problem for his first few NBA games, right? He's going to be super locked. And this is my first ever NBA regular season game. He's not going to loaf on defense. If and again, nothing's official yet, but if he were to play in an NBA game at the start of his career, I don't think that would be an issue. And maybe something down the line to think about. So I do like Lester Quiñones. He has been fantastic for Golden State all year long. Santa Cruz, excuse me.
And the numbers do support that. Now the prevailing theory is, because none of us know for sure, but the prevailing theory is that this is a move to either let Kerr have some more time to decide which two-way player he wants to keep, because there's only one roster spot. So even if he likes both Ty Jerome and Anthony Lamb, unless you waive Andre Iguodala or unless you waive Ryan Rollins or someone else, there just isn't room for 2 of them. I guess a 2-part question to you, if you can answer this. One is, if provided that Lester Quiñones signs a 10-day deal, you are not reporting that. But let's say Shams Charania did. Do you think he will actually play for the Warriors, or do you think he's mostly just going to ride the bench?
It's a good question.
Thank you.
I would I would say that any let me preface this by saying any potential 10-day contract that Golden State would sign someone to, it would behoove them to make it official tomorrow and not today, because they don't play today and they play on March 11th.
Right.
And so like day one should be March 2nd and not March 1st to get that 6th game of availability instead of 5 games.
Great call.
So anything that might become official would, I think, logistically speaking, would become official tomorrow just to get that extra game. I think it also depends on when does Steph Curry come back. Mm-hmm. Is Andrew Wiggins coming back? Because Andrew Wiggins is a wing, right?
Yeah.
And so I think those are 2 huge variables. If the Warriors are down to a 9 or 10 man crew, then any potential guy they sign to a 10-day would, I think, certainly have to be in the rotation for, the back end of it. I remember like one GM saying, I'm not like, providing anonymity. I literally just don't. I just remember reading this article like, the GM's like worst nightmare is signing a guy to a 10-day and him not playing at all. Because like you sign a guy to a 10-day to like see what they can do for your team.
Right.
So I'd imagine that any 10-day, and look, there have been guys who have signed 10 days and have not appeared in a game. It's happened before. But yeah, I think I would lean towards that person getting a shot of some sort than not.
Okay, how is Lester Quiñones defensively? Because that's obviously what this team needs. I know at home they seem to be fine in every regard.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really bizarre that but when they're at home, they have some of the best numbers in the NBA. You go on the road and it just flips completely 180. Can Lester Quiñones play defense?
Yes, he can. And like I said with Seth Cooper, like the thing is like getting him to lock in defensively, like attention-wise, like locking into the game plan. Because when he's tuned in, I mean, he can sit in the stance, he can get deflections, he can, rotate over defensively. And yeah, that's the thing with a lot of young players, right? Like the attention to detail defensively you need in the NBA is a lot, or G League even, is a lot different than what you need in college. And, he's not a 4-year college player either, so he's a little younger on that end. I just to make sure I have his age right. Yeah, he's 22 years old, so still, okay. I mean, that's, stuff that can still very well develop. So yeah, but no, he has the tools to be a good defensive player.
Beautiful. Well, that's news I want to hear. In your opinion, and again, there's a possibility we're not going to see him at all because this move apparently is designed to give Kerr some more time with his two-way players, Anthony Lamb and Ty Jerome. In your opinion, let's say for the sake of argument that Steve Kerr does plan on at least pleading his case, because he's also made it clear that this is Bob Myers' decision in terms of who they sign to any guaranteed deals. But let's say for the sake of argument, Bob Myers indulges Kerr and is like, all right, we'll give you one of the two-way players as a guaranteed deal. In your opinion, who do you think Kerr would pick? And you personally, who would you want between the two? Because Anthony Lamb has 3 games remaining. Ty Jerome has, I believe, 7 games remaining of eligibility. Which one do you think will be a long-term part of this team? And who do you want?
I'm not sure who I want. I think who it will be partly depends on Stephen Curry. Like, if Stephen Curry, like, say he doesn't come back in a couple, like, we don't know when he's going to come back. It seems like it's going to be soon. But if it turns out he's not available, like, Ty Jerome has to be the guy.
Okay.
I think. If not, then I think Anthony Lamb makes more sense. He's not a big, quote unquote,
right?
But he can play down there at least.
He's got muscles.
He's got muscles.
Yeah.
And he is a floor spacing big, and Steve Kerr likes the ability to be able to play him with both potentially Draymond Green and Kevon Looney. So I think Anthony. I mean, I think it depends on like Steph's availability. If it's a full roster, I think probably Anthony Lamb would be the way that might make the most logistic sense. And I do like Ty Jerome, and I know I am.
No, you're in the majority. I'm the one who's the weirdo that everyone like loves to like attack because I criticize him. I'm in the minority. I promise you that. I am in the minority. I don't care. It sucks that I'm getting the amount of backlash I'm getting just for criticizing a two-way player, but I know people love him. I don't see it. I just don't see it. And look, we can
6 assists, no turnovers last night, Si.
I know, but that's not the only. That's not all. That's not the only focus. Like Steve Kerr loves. Steve Kerr.
I'm just trying to needle you right now.
I know. Assist the turnovers. I get it. He's incredible at that. I'm looking at net rating. I'm looking at someone who's very scrawny who gets pushed around defensively. I don't know, man. We can do this again. I don't want to do this.
But yeah. So that's kind of where I land on. Like I think they're both. I do think they're both deserving of full-time NBA roster spots. Like, I do think Ty Jerome is a good 2.5 string, 2.5 string point guard, like in between a backup point guard and a third string point guard. I just think Anthony Lamb has shown enough this year that he can be a 15th, 14th man somewhere in the NBA.
Yeah. And my theory, I know you got to go here. You're about to go host. Again, people who are watching this live right now, jump on 95.7 The Game in about half an hour and change. You can watch Kevin Danna with the former GM of the Golden State Warriors, former head coach of the Sacramento Kings, Gary St. Jean. Should be a fun show. So, yeah, so we'll find out. We'll find out soon what the Warriors are going to do because, again, the eligibility is running out. I personally think Anthony Lamb is the one that's going to stay regardless of Stephen Curry's situation because ultimately, and quick explanation why, if Stephen Curry's injury is much more long-term, this team has no shot at a championship anyways. So I don't see what the point would be to keep Jerome at that point. But hopefully Stephen Curry is going to come back sooner. And the way Steve Kerr talked about these guys and what Lamb gives, I mean, he praised Anthony Lamb for his defense. I don't know if I see that. I mean, you and I were having a discussion before we started recording about me maybe being harsh, calling Steve Kerr delusional. And I think that's why I use that word. Now I'm thinking about it is because he called Anthony Lamb a phenomenal player defensively. I don't know if I see that. Yeah,
if I may,
please.
I believe
I don't see your hand doing that half the time.
Was taken out of context. He didn't say he was a great defensive player. He said Anthony Lamb was great defensively at like rotating and helping on the weak side or something. It was a very specific. I might not have the situation right, but it was a very specific situation which he said Anthony Lamb was great defensively. He wasn't calling him Draymond Green. Let's just clear that up.
And by the way, Haha writes, I don't agree. That's not what I said. I don't think Ty Jerome is responsible for Moody playing like dog, you know what? I think Kerr not giving Moody minutes is largely responsible for that because I don't know how any player in this game could have ever developed into a solid player if they never play. It's not complicated logic. And he's giving one guy more minutes than Moses Moody. That is a point of contention in my book. I don't think Ty Jerome personally is responsible for that. I think the person managing those minutes is responsible for that, but I digress.
Wait, did Cyrus just say that there is a cabal against Moses Moody? There's this underground society that's led by Ty Jerome and this
No, I did not.
I'm just messing with
you. I know you are. I know you are. Go check out Kevin Danna on 95.7 The Game in moments. Go check out all of his action on NBC Sports Bay Area calling Santa Cruz Warriors games. When is that over? It's this month, right? Is G League almost done?
March 25th, unless Santa Cruz makes the playoffs, which can very much happen. They're like a game out of the playoffs. So, and they're playing well. And we're also at Chase Center on Saturday. So come check us out. First 10,000 fans get a Klay Thompson bobblehead, like a search. I think it's a Captain Clay bobblehead presented by Adobe, our corporate overlords at Adobe. So,
I'm so glad you brought that up because you're right. The Santa Cruz Warriors are playing at Chase Center this Saturday. Your voice has been on those commercials. And if anyone ever wonders what Kevin Danna's bedroom voice is like, just watch a Warriors game and watch those commercials for the Santa Cruz Warriors playing at Chase Center this Saturday. Was that intentional on your part? Did they ask you to talk like that? You got to
No, I heard it. And I'm like, God, this sounds terrible.
It's not terrible.
I don't know. My voice naturally goes somewhere else, I guess, when I do those things. I don't like when people sound different, like on the air versus off the air, and I apparently sounded a ton different. I was like, it's not a good look. But whatever, I think I got over it.
It was smooth, man. I was thinking like play some romantic music under that.
Can't imagine my voice setting the mood.
Get some candles flowing. So yeah. All right. Well, go check out Kevin with Gary St. Jean. And again, for every Santa Cruz Warriors game, tomorrow night after that Warriors Clippers game, Jack Winter of Clutch Sports, he's the beat reporter covering the team, is going to join me for the post-game show. So that's when you'll see us next. Kevin, always a pleasure. Thanks for enlightening everyone about Lester Quiñones. I personally hope he plays. I hope this was not a move just so that, they could see the two-way guys for 10 more games. I want to see Lester Quiñones. I think Bob Myers clearly thinks high of him if he originally gave him the two-way deal during training camp. I think there's a reason for that, right? Wouldn't you concur or no? I don't know.
In my last response, I hope Black Ice is still watching. I can't say anything.
All right. We'll be back at it tomorrow night. Kevin, thanks as always. You can follow Kevin Danna on Twitter at Kevo408. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.